All right, with something more organic, like our little rabbit friend here, we have to think about where the seams would be. And the seams would basically, you'd want as few pieces as possible, as few shells that is, and you want them to make sense. So in character or humanoid or quadruped, um, you basically just want to think about, I want to cut the legs from the body and then the head, and in this case, because he has such large ears, his ears, so that I can open these up in his little tail, and it'll make it a lot easier. So I'm thinking my seams are going to be where the legs meet the body or around there, his neck, and then I have to make some choices of opening up his head and his ears. So there's too many pieces and such a mess to deal with right now. I'm actually just going to go in and I'm going to start with a planar map again. So I'm just going to go in here and we see him have him as all one piece. And now I'm just going to move that over so I can start to slice him up, so to speak, um, and get him, the way I want him. So I have to decide where those edges are going to be, and I want it to be symmetrical. So the first thing, just to make sure, remember, freeze transformations and delete history. And sometimes if the model that is symmetrical, you can actually turn on symmetry, and that means that when you'd actually go in and select like an edge like that, I can save some time by selecting edges on both sides like that and then just cutting them. See? And I could use that, or I could use just either selecting the edges and cutting, or I could go in and use that 3D tool. Sometimes this one, depending on the model, it works better and others. So if I double click, you see it got both, which is nice. But we could see because the way this model is made, it has some issues on it. So we probably need to undo that and think about, do I want to put the edge here? And I think I might, let's just cut it there. That's better. And we see over here, it looks like it's a complete edge. You have to, if your geometry is wrong, then your cuts are going to be wrong. But for right now, let's assume that's okay. And now I'm going to start to take, I want to cut that. It's a different shade of purple. It doesn't look like it, but it is. And I have to think about the body also. So those are the legs separate. I have to separate the feet also, because those are more planar maps. And I also want to cut around the neck, which selects, you see that cuts the body there. And also this, once again, I'm going to have to open this up. So if I actually cut right down the middle, that works. But I also have to think about how these parts are going to open up. Okay, so that when I flatten this out, that these can adequately um, open. And so just some things, I'm just making my cuts. And once again, I'm using this tool, which does a lot for me. Otherwise, I would use my edge, just start selecting edges and then hitting cut. So I want to break this up, see, so I can start to dissect our little bunny rabbit friend here and make it so that we can make some cuts that might work for him. And this is saving me some good time of trying to go click, 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 around, going all around it. And then I just want to think like this little paw is going to be a planar map on the top and the bottom. Um, and how do I want that kind of separated? And I also have to think about for this guy, which has some weirdness. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, that's an in-gone. That's not cool. But we want to just think about where we want these. And in this particular case, because it has some weird geometry, I might even go on both sides and fix, or make a consistent line because it's gonna be a little bit weird, but we can deal with that. And then I want to separate the ears as well. Okay. And so you see, I'm just starting to break this up into separate pieces, and then I'll have to decide where, the cuts here are going to happen. So if I unwrap this, these are still going to do some weird things. So we need to add some extra cuts in here to get this to open up properly when we start to lay this out, because otherwise it's just not going to work right, especially maybe in some of these areas. We have to think about if this was a real model, maybe made of paper mache, and I was making cuts of how this would open up. So this is one of those things that we want to think about. So I've broken them up. I haven't made all the nice clean slices to open them up, but I've separated them into their different pieces. And then I have to add a few more cuts and start unfolding them. That'll be in the next video.